Emotional manipulation never looks like what you think it does. The one who loves the most gets hurt the most. The one who trusts first gets betrayed first. The one who stays loyal gets taken for granted longest. And the quiet truth is, the world doesn't care about your warmth. What it cares about is whether you can be moved, whether you can be leveraged, whether you can be controlled through your own emotions. Harriet Beecher Stowe understood this in the 1800s, watching people justify cruelty by exploiting others' compassion. Viktor Frankl understood it inside a Nazi concentration camp, where he watched manipulators strip people of identity by hijacking their emotional responses. And Robert Cialdini spent decades in modern research documenting exactly how it's done to you, right now, in your relationships, your workplace, your home. Today, I'm going to give you 5 psychological frameworks that will permanently rewire how you respond to manipulation, so you see it before it moves you, and stop it before it costs you. But first, lock this into your mind and drop it in the comments right now. I see clearly. I choose deliberately. Now, let's pull back the curtain on what's actually being done to you. Principle 1. Identifying covert manipulation tactics. Think about the last time someone made you feel guilty for having a boundary. Now think about this. Did they ever actually say you were wrong? Or did they just sigh a little too heavily, go a little too quiet, withdraw just enough warmth that you scrambled to fix it? That's covert manipulation, and it's designed to be invisible. The truth is, overt manipulation is easy to spot and easy to reject. It's the covert kind that hollows you out, because it never gives you anything solid to push back against. Cialdini, in his landmark work Influence, identified the core mechanism. Manipulators exploit your existing values against you. Your empathy becomes a leash. Your loyalty becomes a trap. Your desire to be a good person becomes the weapon they use to control you. Here's what I mean. Think about the colleague who never asks you directly for help, but who mentions, just loudly enough for you to hear, how overwhelmed they are, how no one ever steps up, how they're doing this all alone. You feel guilty. You volunteer. They got exactly what they wanted, and you handed it to them. This happens because covert manipulation works beneath your conscious radar. When someone engineers a feeling in you rather than making a direct request, your brain doesn't categorize it as a demand, so your defenses don't activate. You respond emotionally before your logic even loads. Here's what you do instead. First, name what's happening internally, not out loud, but to yourself. I am feeling guilty right now. Did someone put this feeling here, or did I generate it? Second, trace the guilt back to its source. Was there an actual wrong, or just an implication of one? Third, before you act on the feeling, pause 10 seconds. Manipulation requires your immediate emotional response. That 10-second pause is armor. But here's where it gets worse. Because identifying the tactic is only step 1. What manipulators are really targeting isn't your mind. It's something deeper. Something you might not even know you're carrying. Principle 2. Recognizing emotional triggers and vulnerabilities. Viktor Frankl wrote in Man's Search for Meaning that the last of human freedoms is the ability to choose one's response in any given set of circumstances. But here's what most people miss about that quote. He wrote it after watching skilled manipulators in the camps systematically eliminate that freedom in others by finding their breaking point. Every person has one. A wound that, when pressed, bypasses reason entirely and drops them into pure reaction. For some people, it's the fear of abandonment, and a manipulator learns that if they pull away, you'll do anything to pull them back. For some, it's the fear of being seen as selfish, and they learn that labeling your boundary as selfishness makes you immediately retreat. For some, it's shame about the past, and they hold it like a key, rattling it whenever they need you to comply. Here's what this looks like in practice. The person who always starts arguments right before you need to leave, so you spend the entire day distracted, destabilized, easier to manage when you return. They've found your trigger, conflict aversion. They're using it on schedule. When you don't know your own triggers, someone else maps them for you and uses that map without your knowledge. So here's what you do. Sit down this week and write out the 3 emotional states that most reliably shut down your rational thinking. Shame, fear of rejection, fear of conflict, whatever they are for you. Name them. Then, the next time you feel that emotional state arise in the context of another person's request or behavior, that's your signal. Not to comply, to pause, to examine, to ask, is this mine, or was this placed here? Drop this in the comments right now. My emotions inform me. They don't control me. But here's where it gets darker. Because we've been talking about what manipulators do to you from the outside. What I'm about to show you is what they do to your inside. And once you understand it, you'll never see relationships the same way again. Before we continue, if you're still here, you're not just watching. You're doing the kind of self-examination that most people actively avoid their entire lives. That's not common. That's courage. So hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because what's coming next is the piece that will finally explain why you felt so confused in certain relationships for so long. Now, back to what Frankl understood about the manipulation of reality itself. Principle 3. Why your instincts are being systematically reversed. You've been told to trust your gut, to go with your feelings, that your emotions are valid and true. And here's the brutal contradiction. In the hands of a skilled manipulator, that advice makes you easier to control, not harder. Machiavelli observed in The Prince that the most effective way to dominate someone is not through force. Force creates resistance, but through engineering their perception so that they choose the outcome you want and believe they chose it freely. He called this the management of appearances. We call it, 500 years later, gaslighting. Gaslighting doesn't just lie to you. It teaches you to distrust your own perception. And when you stop trusting your perception, you outsource your reality to the person doing it, which is exactly what they need. Here's what this looks like. You remember a conversation clearly. They tell you it didn't happen that way. You feel confused. They act concerned for you. Are you okay? You've been so stressed lately. And slowly, over time, you begin to narrate your own experience through their version of events. Your gut gets overwritten. Your instincts go quiet. Stop. Everything you thought protecting yourself meant, staying calm, being understanding, giving the benefit of the doubt. In these dynamics, those virtues are being harvested. Montesquieu wrote in The Spirit of the Laws that liberty is not the ability to do what one wants. It is the ability to do what the law permits. Applied here, your emotional freedom is not the ability to feel whatever is triggered in you. It is the ability to retain authorship of your own inner life. When someone else is writing your interior narrative, you are not free regardless of how the relationship looks from the outside. And once you see that, you can't unsee it. Principle 4. The boundary paradox that changes everything. Here's what they never told you about boundaries. Most people set them wrong. They set them as ultimatums. If you do X, I'll do Y, and then spend all their energy enforcing the threat. And manipulators love this, because now you're reactive. Now you're emotional. Now the conversation is about your behavior, not theirs. Machiavelli observed that a prince who must constantly threaten has already lost control. Hobbes took this further in Leviathan. He argued that genuine authority doesn't announce itself repeatedly. It simply is, and people respond to it accordingly. Your boundaries aren't ultimatums. They are descriptions of yourself. They're not, if you do this, I'll leave. They're, I don't do that. Full stop. No threat, no negotiation, no emotion. Not, you need to stop talking to me like that or I'll walk away. But, I don't continue conversations when they escalate like this. Then you leave. Not in anger, in clarity. The contradiction that shatters everything. You've been taught that expressing your feelings makes boundaries stronger. But in high conflict dynamics, emotional expression is fuel. Calm, non-negotiation is the wall they cannot climb. High conflict personalities, as psychologist Bill Eddy has documented extensively, are specifically escalated by emotional engagement. Your tears, your anger, your pleading, these are not communications to them. They are confirmation that the tactic is working. Say this with me. Drop it in the comments. My boundary is my behavior, not their consequence. Let it land, because this leads to the final truth, the one that pulls it all together. And it will change how you move through every relationship you have from this moment forward. Principle 5. Mastering emotional neutrality without losing yourself. Here's what actually works, and here's why. Emotional neutrality is not coldness. It is not detachment. It is the deliberate decision to process your emotions privately before responding, so that what you offer in a charged interaction is your intention, not your wound. Frankl called this the space between stimulus and response. In that space, he said, lies our freedom and our growth. Manipulators collapse that space. Your work is to expand it. In practice, when something is said that hits a trigger, you feel the heat rise, the chest tighten. That is your signal to say less, not more. I need to think about that is a complete sentence. I'll come back to you on this is a complete sentence. You are not required to process your emotional life in real time in front of someone who is using it against you. Principle 6. Protecting your reality and rebuilding cognitive autonomy. Remember when we talked about gaslighting? About your perception being systematically overwritten? Here's the antidote. Keep a record. Not for legal purposes, not to build a case, but because when someone has spent months reshaping your memory, written evidence becomes an anchor to truth. Notes after important conversations, screenshots of messages, a journal entry after a confusing interaction while the details are still fresh. This isn't paranoia. This is what Montesquieu understood about the necessity of checks. That power without accountability rewrites history. You are the check on someone who is rewriting yours. Alongside this, rebuild your external reference points. Manipulative dynamics isolate you, subtly, gradually, until the manipulator is your primary source of information about yourself, your relationships, your reality. Rebuild that network deliberately, not to vent, but so that other trustworthy people can reflect reality back to you when yours goes blurry. Principle 7. Disengaging, exiting, and reclaiming your future. Machiavelli saw the game. Frankl built the interior armor. Montesquieu designed the structural safeguards. And now you have all three. But none of it matters if you cannot leave when leaving is required. Exit plans are not dramatic. They are practical. Financial independence, even partial, a separate account, a saved cushion. A clear conversation with one trusted person about what you're navigating. A mapped timeline, even a rough one. And the psychological permission, which no one else can give you, to prioritize your safety over someone else's reaction to your leaving. Here's the synthesis. When you name the tactic, you rob it of invisibility. When you know your triggers, you reclaim authorship of your responses. When you set boundaries as self-descriptions, you remove the emotional fuel manipulators depend on. When you protect your perception, you retain access to reality. And when you build the exit, you ensure that your freedom is never entirely contingent on someone else's behavior. These don't operate as separate tools. They form a system. Each one reinforces the others, and together they make you very difficult to manipulate. You came here feeling confused, like something was wrong in a relationship, but you couldn't name it, couldn't prove it, couldn't stop it. You learned that covert manipulation is engineered invisibility, and now you see it. You discovered that your instincts may have been deliberately overwritten, and now you can reclaim them. And now you understand that this is not about becoming cold or strategic or suspicious of everyone you love. This is about becoming unmanipulable, which is not a fortress. It's a foundation. It's the thing that makes genuine connection possible, because you're finally in the relationship from a place of clarity instead of fear. You're not the same person who started listening a few minutes ago. If this landed, if something in here named something you've been living but couldn't articulate, this isn't meant to stay with just you. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Hit the like button if it opens something up. Subscribe, because this is part of a larger body of work on psychological self-defense that is worth your time. This knowledge breaks cycles, not just in you, in the people around you who are still too deep inside to see clearly. You're not here by accident. The most dangerous person to a manipulator is not the one who fights back loudly. It's the one who sees clearly, stays calm, and simply refuses to be moved. Be that person.